The government today announced statutory regulation of ANPR, or the Automatic Number Plate Recognition Network. 4,000 cameras log the movements of more than 10 million drivers every day. The Home Office said it was also considering better regulation of CCTV. Well, this is likely to be welcomed in Birmingham, where 218 cameras, including 72 hidden cameras, were installed in areas of the city with large Muslim populations. Residents and local councillors in Washwood Heath and Sparkbrook say they hadn't been consulted about the installation, which was paid for from a Home Office counter-terrorism fund. Yesterday, about 300 people attended a public meeting in the city to discuss the issue. Police said the cameras will be removed, and Assistant Chief Constable Sharon Rowe made this apology.
Mistakes have been made by West Midlands Police, and I am sorry. I'm truly sorry. What I'd like to say to you now is that there will be no covert cameras in your neighbourhoods.
Salma Yaqoob is leader of the Respect Party and councillor for Sparkbrook. She says they were misled over the project, and she's lodged an official complaint with the Independent Police Complaints Commission. She explained why.
We were told it was simply part of expanding existing CCTV and ANPR, and because of the crime figures. And when I pressed them further, it was clear actually that the crime figures were actually lower in areas like Sparkbrook and Springfield than other areas which have not been earmarked for this kind of surveillance. When I put a direct question as to has this got something to do with preventing violent extremism, I was told, it's just a special Home Office grant, not a word mentioned about terrorism. In fact, time and time again in the meeting, we were told this is simply about improving businesses in the area.
Did the police specifically deny that it wasn't about preventing violent extremism?
When I asked that direct question, the actual wording that the Assistant Chief Constable used was that if he said that additional CCTV and ANPR facilities would not have any benefit around counter-terrorism, then he would be lying. In no way is that stating, well, actually, this is the main reason why we're putting these cameras in place. It's really about, is this about surveillance as opposed to crime prevention? And I believe that we were misled, and that's why I put in that formal complaint.
What impact do you think this has had on relations between the community and the police?
Well, it's had a really, really negative impact, which is very sad. Of course, it's going to feel that the trust that we have in them has been very much betrayed, and that we have been viewed as a suspect community all along, whereas we thought this was a genuinely equal relationship.
Well, as a local councillor, do you believe that religious fundamentalism is a problem in your ward of Sparkbrook?
I think, as with any area, it'd be complacent and naive to say that there is no form of extremism, whether it's political, whether it's violent, or whether it's religious-based. But regardless of that, having an initiative where you demonise and criminalise a whole community, the very communities where you want to get the information from, where you want to make people feel that they belong and that we're all on the same side and information is fully shared, this is the very opposite of that. It's actually alienating people who actually already feel they belong in this society. In fact, in our ward, I'm proud to say that when it comes to indices of people feeling that they trust their neighbour, people feeling happy in the area they live in, people feeling they can influence local decisions, we actually came top out of the whole of Birmingham. And in fact, nationally, we're seen as a flagship neighbourhood. And then we find out that we've got 72 secret cameras in lampposts and trees watching our every move.
But if this process had been more open, if you had known from the outset that this is what the police were considering doing and the money was going to be spent in this way, do you think you would have been more accepting of it? Because there are those who might say, well, isn't this kind of surveillance important to prevent another 7/7, say?
No, I don't believe that this kind of surveillance prevents that kind of atrocity. I think where there are reasonable grounds to suspect individuals, of course they should be tracked, and surveillance in those circumstances is needed. So our opposition to this is not to say that we don't think there shouldn't be we don't think there should be any intelligence gathering or surveillance, but it has to be proportionate. And I would reject the idea that by opposing the way that this has happened, as well as the principle that by having whole communities under surveillance, we are somehow then softer on fighting extremism. I totally reject that.
Salma Yaqoob. You're listening to The World Tonight with Ritula Shah.